Good morning students. Welcome in this class. This video is for the students of class 8 subject Social Science. We are studying about History chapter 8 Women, Caste and Reforms. It is the second lecture of this chapter, and in today's lecture topics to be discussed are: first one, changing the lives of widows, girls begin going to school, women write about women, caste and social reforms, and in last, some question answer will be given as homework based on taught topics. So let's start today's discussion. Yes, in today's discussion, our first topic is changing the lives of widows. Yes friends, as we have studied in our previous lecture that Indian society had been a prey to many evils practices for a long time. Men and women were treated differently. There was a lot of discrimination among men and women. Women were subjected to many restrictions, and where men had the right to enjoy freedom, and women were not allowed to go to school, they were not allowed to choose their husbands. Child marriage was also very common in the society, and most of the children were married off at an early age. Both Hindu and Muslim men could marry more than one wife, and in some parts of the country sati was in practice. And the widows those widows were praised who chose death by burning themselves on the funeral pyre of their husbands. Women's right to property were also restricted. So these were some social evils which were presented in Indian society. And if we talk about that place of the widows in the society, that was they led a very miserable life, pathetic life. They were not given any right. And as we have studied, due to the efforts of many social reformers, that the condition of widows improved in Indian society. We have studied about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He made great efforts to improve the status of widows in Indian society. Now we will study about that efforts of more social reformers who made efforts to bring that improvement or development in societies. So now next name is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, through ancient text, suggested that widow could remarry. So who was Vidyasagar? He was a reformer in Bengal, and he took forward the cause of widow remarriage and education of women. He wrote many articles in favor of widow remarriage. He persuaded the British officials to pass laws for enforcing remarriage of widows and banning polygamy. And he submitted petition with regards to his demands in Indian Legislative Council and the British government. Finally, due to his efforts, the Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1856. So in 1856, a law was passed permitting widow remarriage. So you must know about this act. The name of the act was Widow Remarriage Act of 1856, and according after this law, now widows allowed to remarry. By the second half of the 19th century, the movement of widow remarriage spread to other parts of the country. Yes friends, with the passage of time, that the movement widow marriage movement spread in different parts of our country. And many other social reformers were also there, those who made efforts towards this movement. And the movement in favor of widow remarriage, that it spread in different parts of the country by the second half of the 19th century, and in which the another name was there, that was Veer Shalingam. Veer Shalingam and Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati founded the Arya Samaj to support widow remarriages. Yes friends, Swami Dayanand Saraswati was the founder of the Arya Samaj, and he raised his voice in favor of widow remarriages and education of girls. He believed in giving equal status to men and women in society. Okay, and he was against child marriage, and Arya Samaj opened school for girls in Punjab. Okay, and the other name which I told you, that was the Veer Shalingam. Now we will discuss about it. One of the most famous reformer, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, already we have discussed about it, that used the ancient text to suggest that widows could remarry. Okay, so Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, one another effort of which Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, that he tried to create awareness among the people to show by showing ancient text, okay, ancient book, okay, which you can say that which shows that this type of social evils were not part of Indian culture. Means in ancient time people didn't practice this customs, this culture, okay, like these social evils like sati system, okay, parda system, these were not the part of Indian culture, and so now this time also people should not follow this. His suggestion was adopted by British officials and passed Widow Remarriage Act. We already discussed about it. So next name which I was telling, that was the Veer Shalingam. Veer Shalingam, that is Pentalu formed an association for widow remarriage. So Veer Shalingam, who was he? He was a Telugu Brahmins of Madras Presidency, and he opened the first girls' school in 1874. He also formed an association for widow remarriage and female education. He published Viveka Vardhani, a journal, okay, and to promote enlightenment. And in 1878, he launched his Society for Social Reforms. Understood about it? Okay. Girls begin going to school. This is our next topic. So beta, with the efforts of this you can say many social reformers, and with the passes of time, you can say the status or conditions of the girl child started to improve in Indian society. Now people started to started to promote girl educations, okay, and they you can say they started to give equality, okay. Now this time that girl child also started to go school. Now we will discuss about it. Education for girls was necessary to improve their condition. Yes friends, as we know that Indian society, Indian women had been denied the benefits of education for centuries. Even in the ancient times, it was only the ladies of royal household or upper classes who were educated. And in the middle and the lower classes of society, women were mostly confined to the domestic work only. They thought, the people had the opinion that the main function was to take care of their household activities and bring up the younger ones of the families. This was there, but as we know, okay, that if we improve the status of the girl, okay, in the society, that education was must, necessary, okay, कि only educated girl or women, okay, they could raise their voice for their rights. And this time also, okay, that to provide equality and to bring the improvement or development in the society, so girl education must be there, okay, girls must be educated. This was there. So for that, in the mid 19th century, the first schools were opened, girls schools, okay, means by the mid 19th centuries, that in many areas or region of our country, that the girls schools started to open, and many feared that schools would take girls away from home and prevent them from doing their domestic duties. Whether the schools were going to set up for the girl child, but after that many people were there, those who were not ready to send their girl child to school due to of many reasons. What were this reason? Actually, most of the men thought that if women started going to school, they would taste the joy of freedom, and this would take them away from their families and domestic duties or domestic work. Okay, and the another reason, traveling. What was this? To reach the school, girls had to travel through public spaces, and many people felt that girls should stay away from public spaces. Okay, actually, traveling through public spaces would have a bad influence on them. Men believed that women should stay away from the open atmosphere of the societies. Okay, that's why initially that women were taught at home by open-minded fathers or husbands. Okay, means as I told that whether the schools were that being set up, but many people now also many people were there, those who were not ready to send their girl child. They were in the favor of girl education, but for the education they were not ready. They didn't prefer to send their child to school. Means they promote the girl education. They taught the girls, okay, at their home only. So that most educated women were taught at home by liberal fathers or husbands. Okay, this I told you, means the women were taught at home by open-minded fathers or husbands. Means they were not allowed to attend school, to cross public places. Rasundari Devi was one of those who secretly learned to read and write. Means she also taught at home. In the later part of the century, Arya Samaj established schools for girls in Punjab, and Jyoti Rai Phule established schools in Maharashtra. Okay, so now I told you to promote girl education in many parts of our country, that girls schools were girls schools were being set up. Okay, so for that Arya Samaj also established girls school in Punjab, and Jyoti Rai Phule also established a girls school in Maharashtra. In aristocratic Muslim household, women learned to read the Quran in Arabic taught by women who came home to teach, and the first Urdu novels began to be written from the late 19th century. Yes friends, if we say that from the early 20th century, some Muslim women such as Begum of Bhopal, Begum of Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain, they also played active role in spreading education among Muslim girls. Okay, means now Muslim girls also started to get education, but they were given only religious teaching, the teaching of their religious book about Quran, and they were also taught by women only at their home. And the first Urdu novels began to be written from the late 19th century. In the early 20th century, Begum of Bhopal played a notable role in promoting education among women. Yes, friends, as I told you that from the early 20th centuries, Muslim women such as Begum Hazrat Mahal, okay, and Begum Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain played active role in spreading education among Muslim girls, and for that they founded schools for them. Begum Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain, okay, fearlessly criticized the conservatives' ideas, okay, and for that she founded a primary school for the girls in Aligarh, and Begum Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain started school for Muslim girls in Patna and Calcutta. Okay, as I was telling that Begum Rokeya Shekhawat Hussain fearlessly criticized the conservative ideas. She argued that religious leader of every faith accorded an inferior position to women. Okay, and the orthodox Hindus and Muslim got alarmed to see all this. Several Hindu nationalists, okay, felt that Hindu women were adopting western ways and which would corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values. So Indian women, our next topic is there, women right about women. Indian women started going to universities by the 1880s, where they were trained to be doctors and some became teachers. Actually, by the end of the 19th century, Indian women themselves began to work for their upliftment. They began to get higher education in universities. Some of them trained to be doctors, some became teachers, and many women began to write and publish their critical views on the status of women in the society. And out of this, that one name was there, Pandita Ramabai. She was a writer and wrote a book about the miserable lives of the upper caste Hindu women. Okay, so Miss that Pandita Ramabai was a great scholar of Sanskrit. She criticized Hinduism, which was so oppressive towards women. She wrote a book about the miserable lives of upper caste Hindu women. She established a widow home at Pune to provide shelter to widows who had been ill-treated in their families. Understood about the Pandita Ramabai? Okay. And many Hindu nationalists felt that Hindu women were adopting Western ways and that this would corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values. Those who were very, you can say, critical Hinduist, okay, Hinduist nationalists, they were not in the favor of girl or women education. They felt that by educating the girls, they started to follow Western culture. Okay, and in this way that they would this thing would corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values, and in this way they would forget their own culture and you can say family values. This is there, means they would not give respect to the family members. They would not you can say fulfill their families that duties towards the other family members. So in this way, okay, so for that you can say, so these Orthodox Hindus and Muslims got alarmed to see all this. Several Hindu nationalists, I told this, felt that Hindus women were adopting Western ways which would corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values. Okay, and in the same way, Orthodox Muslims were also equally worried about the impact of these changes. By the end of the 19th century, women wrote books, edited magazines, founded schools and training centers and set up women's associations. Yes, friends, by the end of the 19th centuries, now along with the men, women also started to raise their voice for the rights of women. Okay, they started to express their views. They started to write the miserable conditions of the women in the society in books, magazines, and they started to that set up schools, training centers, and some women welfare associations also to improve the women's status in society. They also formed political groups to push through laws for female suffrage, right to vote. Suffrage means right to vote. Okay, and better health care and education for women. Okay, so the main you can say issues which was raised by the women, for the women, that was the right to vote. As we know that in the ancient time that women were not any right to give her opinion. Okay, all decisions were taken by the male member only. Okay, so for that, for the right to vote or for their better health, actually they were not providing you can say nutritious food, okay, and healthcare facilities in the family, not given the right of education. So for this type of right to education, for better health, or for the right to vote, these women started to form organizations also, political groups also. In the 20th century, that Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose extended their support to demands for greater equality and freedom for women. Many other leaders were there, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. They also are that you can say made efforts to promote that equal right to equality or right to freedom for women. The Pratna Samaj adhered to the tradition of bhakti that believed in spiritual equality of all castes. And Paramahansa Mandali, founded in Bombay in 1840, worked for abolition of caste. Now, as we know that caste system was also a you can say great social evil presented in Indian society. Indian society was based on Varna system, caste system, and in which there were four main Varnas: Brahman, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Shudras. Brahman had that important place, had an important place in the society, had respectable status in the society, but some people were considered lower caste. Okay, these people faced a lot of discrimination. They were not allowed to enter in the village, they were not allowed to enter in the temples. So for that, to remove these social evils, that efforts were made by many organizations, and in which one that Samaj were there, you can say assembly was there, which was known as Pratna Samaj. Okay, actually that this Pratna Samaj followed the tradition of bhakti, means equality, on the basis of religions. So in which that, as we know, as I told that in Hindu society, that lower caste people were not allowed to enter in the temples, but in Pratna Samaj, that there were no discrimination on the basis of caste. All people had equal rights. Paramahansa Mandali was also founded in Mumbai in 1840. Okay, and this organization also tried to create awareness among the people, okay, for equality, and made efforts for the abolition of caste system from India. During the course of the 19th century, Christian missionaries began setting up schools for the tribal groups and that lower caste children. So many other Christian missionaries are also there. Okay, welfare organizations were there. Those who worked for the people of lower caste, or especially for the poor people. Okay, like the people of the tribal group, or the people of poor, you can say families, or the lower caste. For that, they set up schools for their educations. Okay, yes students, so in this way we have studied that many social reformers made efforts, okay, and to bring or to improve the status of women in the society. And for that another girl was there, woman was there. She wrote a book, that Tarabai Shinde wrote a book named Stri Push Tulna. Okay, and this book is about the comparison of man and women in Indian society. Ki how there was a great discrimination between man and women. Always that Indian society remained man dominated society, and the women always face a lot of discrimination. They were not given equal right. Okay, he wrote about you can say how these women were ill treated in their own family. So that was Tarabai Shinde. So means now we have seen that the social reformers and like women also started to raise voice for equal rights for women. So this is for today. Now today's homework, in which first question: who published the book named Stri Push Tulna and what it is about? How did Widows Home at Pune help the widows? This I told you that this Widows Home was set up or founded by Pandita Ramabai, okay, and to provide shelter to widows who had been ill-treated in their families, so they could live there, okay, and earn source of income also and lead a happy life. Why were changes necessary in Indian society? Yes, as we know that Indian society was suffered a lot of you can say number of social evils. Okay, and that so changes were necessary in Indian society. So you have to tell why. How did women involve themselves in their uplift march? Yes. Question 5th. What did Raja Ram Mohan Roy do to end the practice of sati? So this is your homework. Now we will have a discussion on the homework solution of lecture 1. So in homework, the question answer which were given, in which first is there, who was Raja Ram Mohan Roy? Answer: Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a social reformer. He founded a reform association known as the Brahma Sabha, later known as Brahm Samaj, in Calcutta. Question 2nd. What is the hook swinging festival? Answer: in this popular festival, devotees underwent a peculiar form of suffering as part of ritual worship. With the hooks passed through their skin, they swung themselves on a wheel. Question 3. What do you know or what do you mean by sati? Answer: in some parts of the country, widows were praised if they chose death by burning themselves on the funeral pyre of their husbands. Women who died in this manner, whether willingly or otherwise, were called sati, meaning virtuous women. Question 4. What were the different reasons people had for not sending girls to schools? So many reasons were there. The following were the reasons people had for not sending girls to schools, in which first is there that they feared that schools would take girls away from home, prevent them from doing their domestic duties. Second, moreover, girls had to travel through public places and in order to reach schools, and they thought that these public places were not safe for them. Many people felt that this would have a corrupting influence on them. They felt that girls should stay away from public places. Question number 5th. How did reformers bring changes in Indian society? Yes, reformers brought changes in Indian society by persuading people to give up old practices and adopt a new way of life. So friends, this is for today. In this way, our today's lecture is completed. Tomorrow we will meet again with the next lecture of this chapter. Thank you. Have a nice day.